Now, our first story, the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PRC, has increased tariffs for electricity and water. Electricity has gone up by 2.63% and water by 1.06%. According to a statement released by the PRC, the increase is to help the service providers raise money to undertake maintenance works. The Commission says it expects the situation to normalize once the power barges arrive in the country. The new tariffs will take effect on the 1st of April. According to the PRC, in calculating the tariffs using the automatic adjustment formula, it arrived at an actual increase of 31.73% for electricity and 21.3% for water. It, however, decided to pass on what it calls a minimal tariff increase using the decision variable. The Ministry of Health says it has reached an agreement with the various health providers to settle the debt owed them by the National Health Insurance Authority. Deputy Minister Dr. Victor Bampo says both parties arrived at a consensus after a meeting yesterday. He has also assured that holders of the NHIS cards will not be turned away from the health centres.
The government is working very hard to make sure that those payments are made. I think yesterday we had a meeting with the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, with the chief executives of the 4 teaching hospitals and also the Society of Private Medical and Dental Practitioners. And we resolved to make sure that to the greatest extent possible the health insurance scheme stays in place, the cards be accepted whilst government works to make sure that these arrears are cleared in the short. Our responsibility then is to make sure that these arrears are settled, number one. Number two, the reasons why the arrears were there in the first place be examined fully, and we are going to make sure that the challenges that the scheme has would be resolved so that they don't come, because it's become almost cyclical, and we want to make sure that this does not happen again. No, I don't think it's going to be very long. What I cannot do is to give you a definite time, because I don't, I'm not from the Ministry of Finance, so it will involve some discussions between ourselves and the Ministry of Finance. But government, as the guarantee of the scheme, has an obligation to make sure that the debt is cleared, and the government is also aware that this must be done in the shortest possible time. I will not be able to give you a definite timeline, but as and when we know when this is going to be done, we will communicate with you. But most importantly, the providers will be paid so that the scheme is maintained. We have to look at the scheme itself and to see how we make it more sustainable. What are the things that are causing this indebtedness? Because it seems like what we're collecting, there's some 3 main modes of getting funds into the scheme. Number one is the 2.5% on the VAT. Number two is the 2.5% from the SNIT contributors. And then there are the premiums that are paid. But it seems like when all those are collected, it's not enough to pay for, the amounts that the scheme rakes up. So we need to find a way to make sure that, income and expenditure are balancing, or at the very least income is more than expenditure. So that is something that we need to do.
The Ghana Statistical Service has admitted publishing an incorrect GDP growth estimate for 2009 on its website. It comes after the running mate of the New Patriotic Party highlighted discrepancies in the figures he says will undermine efforts by the International Monetary Fund to help restore Ghana's economy. Government statistician Dr. Philomena Nyako revealed that 2.2% was published as GDP growth for 2009 instead of 4.8%, explaining it was an error during the transmission of the data onto its website.
When we compile our figures, we have a big sheet, Excel sheet that we work with. And for the GDP data, we have series spanning from whenever up to the present. So let me say from 2006 up to the present. So sometimes when we are working and the sheet is big, you tend to hide certain columns so we had calculated the figure as 4.8%, but in an attempt to copy the data and put it on the website, the relevant bit of the estimates, and put it on the website. That's where the problem occurred.
On the issue of net indirect taxes, Dr. Bawumia questioned why real growth rates for indirect taxes are equal to real growth rates at basic prices for all the years since 2009, which he said was not normal. Dr. Philomena Nyako, however, says the figures are absolutely correct.
It must be stated that the method for computing net indirect taxes in constant prices has been revised to align with the recommended treatment outlined in the 2008 System of National Accounts, that is the SNA 2008, and this is consistent with GS's revision policy. Total net indirect taxes are therefore extrapolated by growth rates obtained at basic prices, which are acceptable approximations.
Addressing the disparities between its figures and that of the Ministry of Agric, the government statistician intimated the figures quoted by Dr. Bawumia cannot be traced to the Ministry of Agric, as the ministry has denied the figures.
And the MOFA, we are saying that the actual figures quoted by Dr. Bawumia, they don't have it.
She adds that Dr. Bawumia's figures are inconsistent and factually incorrect. Etonamse, Joy News.
More than 1,000 MPP supporters this afternoon poured onto the streets of Bolgatanga in the Upper East region to demonstrate against what they say are failed promises of the NDC government to the people of the three regions in the north. Upper East correspondent Albert Sore has more.
The demonstrators, clad in mostly red and black, were also protesting what they describe as the general economic hardship in the country. NPP bigwigs such as the running mate Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, Deputy Minority Leader Dominic Nitiwo, National Youth Organizer Samuel Oku joined the demonstration. NPP running mate Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who led the demonstration, says the turnout for the demonstration was an indication that Ghanaians are tired and want a change in government.
Let's tell all our people to prepare to get ready for the polls next year. It's coming. Is coming.
Other party executives also took their turn to address the crowd.
We are saying that change in 2016 is change that is good for the young people. So let us demonstrate to the NDC that we are tired. I'm not interested in becoming a DC. I'm not interested in becoming an AP. My interest is for you people to get your situation.
From Boliga, this has been Albert Sore's report for Joy News.
Invisible, go!
The New Patriotic Party's female members in Parliament have lauded the party's decision to allow only women to challenge them at the party's upcoming primaries. Chairperson of the Minority Women's Caucus, Esther Obingdapa, told journalists at a news conference in Parliament that though they welcome the National Executive Committee's decision, sitting female MPs are ready to compete with anyone, including men.
We had nothing to do with this decision. It was decision of NEC. 70% of the people at the meeting agreed that that was their position, and that was what they were doing to help with the affirmative action. But when this was communicated, there has been harsh reaction. And we wanted to call this meeting to explain our position. We are not afraid of competitions. I've been through 3 primaries and won my seat convincingly. Others have won their primaries in the past. So we are not afraid of competition. We are prepared to face anybody. We are women of substance, and we can fight and win our seats. But for the benefit of our children and the next generation, the women that will be wanting to come to Parliament, that's why we supported the decision by NEC. We are thanking them for what they've done. It's a bold decision. Affirmative action is not easy, but they've taken that decision, and we are saying bravo to NEC.
Meanwhile, two of the most outspoken MPP female MPs, Eslozu and Irene Natoshi Ado, say they expected opposition towards the decision. They have, however, urged the National Executive Committee of the MPP not to relent.
There has been a backlash against this policy because understandably there will be, and it wasn't explained and articulated to the populace so that they would understand why the party was seeking to do what they were doing. I expected the communications wing of the party to do the public education on this so that we would all support it. Unfortunately, we, the sitting members of parliament, were told not to talk because we are the potential beneficiaries of this. I objected to it and said that if we can't explain this policy, who can? If the party won't explain why they are doing this, who will? And so, because of the vacuum in terms of information flow and discussing of the rationale behind it, we have had this backlash. But the party must have had a reason for taking this stand.
I hear a few people say that the decision is not good, should be rescinded and all that, and I disagree with it. I think that you don't take a decision and just with the slightest opposition you feel, then you just go back and rescind it. This decision was heavy in 2008. Nothing was done. 2012, nothing was done. This is the platform for 2016. This is the era when we must do something. Affirmative action must be born. It's been conceived. And any plan of anybody to try and take it out is murder, and it will cost this party a lot.
In a related development, the Greater Accra chairman of the New Patriotic Party has justified the decision by the party's National Executive Committee to allow only indigents to contest parliamentary primaries in constituencies along the coast in the Greater Accra region. The initiative, along with a plan to allow the party's 16 female MPs to contest the 2016 election unopposed, has proved very controversial, sparking protests around the country. Niyama Ashiteava insists adopting the strategy will guarantee the party majority seats in parliament at the next election, and cautions the MPP risks losing more seats to its biggest opponent, the National Democratic Congress, if it rescinds its decision.
You go to the northern region, you will see that almost all the people who are contesting the parliamentary seats are from that place. If you go to the upper north, upper east and upper west, it's the same. You go to the Volta region, it's the same. You go to Ashanti region, the number is very great. If it's not even 100%, it's about 90%. It is only in Greater Accra that now we have 14 members of parliament. Only 5 of them are GANs, 9 of them are non-GANs. And this is what...
Shouldn't matter if we're doing the work. Shouldn't matter.
Yes, it shouldn't...
Ethnicity play a role.
It will not matter to you, but the traditionalists, it matters to them. They feel that they cannot deal with those other people. They find it difficult. You see, we have some customs and values that they will not allow them to be present. And therefore, some decisions will be taken that it will be too difficult.
What role will the parliamentarian be playing in these customs and traditions that cannot be played by a non-Indian?
No, you have to be dealing with the chief. You have to be dealing with maybe the high priest. You have to be dealing with all manner of people. You understand? When I was in Tema East, I was dealing with the people they call warrior, the fetish priestess all over. They would not like to deal with somebody who does not understand their tradition and customs. I was dealing with the chief priest. You understand? Where you have to go, there is a room that you have to go. And luckily the chief priest is from my clan. There is a room. If you are not coming from my clan, you cannot enter that room. You understand? And you go there and a lot of discussions are taking place. They will tell you the things that they want in their traditional area. And there is more to it than...
Don't these things have implications on our political climate here in Ghana. If we want to practice our politics, we want to make lawmakers based on your ethnicity.
It is. Look, this Obama is from Chicago, and in the elections, he had the highest vote from Chicago. That it is. You must belong to a place. And you see, people are talking of all people stay in Accra. We know that. That is why we are not putting up the whole 34 constituencies. We are picking. If you go to Dadekotopon, where we have the La Kpawulomo, where we have the La Manche, this is a traditional area. Then you go and put Alidu at that place. You understand? The La Kpawulomo will not be able to sit with that person to tell him the history of La and why he should do this or that in the area. So we were very, very selective, selecting where we have traditional areas who are concerned about what has been happening over the years. So out of 34 constituencies, we selected only 14 and left 20.
Is this the winning plan for the NPP? So that out of the 14 parliamentarians you have now, you have more indigents, 14 parliamentarians from the coastal constituency, so you'd have more beings.
Yes, we did it in 2000, and we won almost the coastal area. And then we went back. We stopped, and the people lost interest in us. They told me that, well, we were working with them, and then we left them. And, well, they made new friends. And you come back and you want them to immediately to leave their friends, it's very difficult. So since that time, we've been in constant touch with them. I've been visiting them. I go to them, I discuss issues with them, they advise me, and I look at some of the advice that they've been given.
You're watching Joy News Prime. Still to come in the bulletin, two of Ghana's most prominent academics have been debating 58 years of the country's independence from British colonial rule. We'll bring you that after the break. Stay tuned. Judges and magistrates in the Upper West region have expressed shock at the filthy conditions under which remand prisoners are kept at the Wa Central Prison. Supervising High Court Judge for Wa, Justice Kwesi Boakye, led a team of judges, magistrates, state attorneys and members of the Narcotics Control Board to the Wa Central Prison. The visit is part of broad measures by Chief Justice George Inewu to give judges a feel of conditions at some of Ghana's prisons. Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam was on the Wa Central Prison tour and came through with his report.
The Wa Central Prison was established in 1920 to house a maximum of 100 inmates. The 8 cell rooms have neither seen renovation or expansion works all these years, and yet more prisoners are brought in day by day, exceeding the number of persons required to stay here. Upper West Regional Commander of Ghana Prison Service, Assistant Commissioner of Prisons, Victor Duachebi, gave a breakdown of the number of people at the prison.
As of this morning, the Wa Central Prison has an inmate population of 212 inmates, made up of 173 convicts, 35 remands, 1 condemned prisoner, 2 trials, and 1 PP, that is presidential pleasure. The station also has a staff strength of 110 officers, made up of 8 superior officers and then 80 subordinate officers.
Inside here at the Wa prison, there are 8 cells. Only 1 is reserved for remand prisoners. It houses 35 inmates instead of a maximum of 10. They have their toilets just at their noses. They are packed like a bouquet of flowers laid at the tomb of a dead person. They have no place to put their personal effects, forcing them to hang them on the walls. Ventilation here is terrible, and rotting wooden planks over windows narrow the airspace. The prison's kitchen is right at the back of the cell. Food is prepared using firewood, and the smoke is inhaled freely by inmates to the detriment of their health. Some of the justices and magistrates were sweating profusely, and others simply had to stay away just after peeping. Some of them said they were shocked and surprised and lost for words for what they saw. The supervising Wa High Court Judge, Justice Kwesi Boache, and the Upper West State Attorney shared their thoughts on the visit.
I'm only submitting my report to the Chief Justice. If there's an application before me or any judge to consider for bail, then the judge will look at it and decide on its merits. So, we saw about 33 inmates on remand. We saw the condition over there. The ventilation is poor. It appears to be congested. That is it, but who caused it? Who caused it? We are doing our work. You, the same people, when you bring these people and we don't remand them, you will be going around and be complaining that we have taken bribe. We grant them bail to another thing. So we are doing our work. Where the need arises, we will do whatever we are supposed to do.
I'm totally devastated. I'm totally devastated by what I have seen. I've seen a single room, a room that should not be comfortable for even one person, accommodating 35 people. And that, as far as I'm concerned, is terrible. It's absolutely heartbreaking. It's heart-rendering to see human beings who are on remand, who are presumed to be innocent, until their guilt is established or they plead otherwise, in custody, some of them up to 4 years, in that 2x4 room that can hardly accommodate just one person. Accommodating 35 persons is quite horrifying.
So I think you have been here, would that change your perception of justice?
Absolutely. It will inform me as to what to ask the court to do, especially in terms of remanding persons who you can conveniently admit to bail and secure their attendance to court at your convenience. I think we will be very careful the way we ask the court to remand people in custody. We will be very, very cautious. Thank you very much.
An operation by a combined team from the Police, Fire Service and the Road Safety Commission to ensure an accident-free Easter has led to the arrest of 20 drivers. But for the rains which brought the exercise to an abrupt end, many more drivers would have been picked up for various offences.
The exercise was carried out at Eisam in the Mfanteman municipality, one of the hottest accident spots. Of the 30 accident-related deaths recorded in the region in the first quarter of 2015, 12 were from the Mfanteman municipality. Drivers who were arrested were charged with various offences, including possession of fake driver's license and certificates, worn-out tires, overspeeding and loading at wrong spots, among other offences. According to the Central Regional Commander of the Motor Traffic and Transport Department, Superintendent Felix Cosmos, major breaches are going to be prosecuted.
Road safety is a collective effort or responsibility. It lies on passengers, drivers, and then the general public. So the advice that we are given is, if you are a passenger in a car, you ensure that, you have to, and the driver is maybe misconducting himself on the road, you have a stake. You must be bold to tell that driver that he should exercise patience, because after all, when he speeds, he's going to reach. When he goes slowly, he's going to reach. And it's better to be patient on the road than to be a patient or a casualty in the hospital.
The Regional Director of the Road Safety Commission, Stephen Anochi, hoped to continue the exercise to ensure that roads are safe for every road user.
By the grace of God, we have been able to reduce the rate of accident in this quarter. Normally, in the central region, it is in the first quarter that we record a lot of accidents. For instance, by this same period last year, we have recorded about 80 deaths. But this year, we are talking about some 30 around the same period, which is a significant reduction in the road traffic fatalities. And therefore, we want to continue this program and ensure that the roads are safe for every road user. Our advice to motorists and the general traveling public is that passengers have a stake in their own safety when it comes to traveling. So they shouldn't sit down in the vehicle quiet when the drivers are misconducting themselves on the road.
Dr. Gina Pierce reports from the Central Region.
Two of Ghana's most prominent academics have been debating 58 years of the country's independence from British colonial rule. Professor Agyeman Badu Akosa and Dr. Richard Amako are participating in the second Joy FM debate at the Kofi Annan ICT Training Center. Renowned pathologist Professor Agyeman Badu Akosa spoke against the motion, while the political scientist Dr. Richard Amakoba spoke for it.
When Ghanaians engage in political discourse, especially when it involves personalities like Nkrumah and Dankwa, we tend to repeat simplistic political rhetoric instead of being reflective and looking at the situation with sophisticated eyes. I have looked at Nkrumah. I myself was a young pioneer. When I was young, he was my God, but I grew up. What happened? With such a promising future, what happened? Very simple.
Subjugated have fought for their independence. Let me start with where Richard went to school. In 1775 to 1783, the Americans fought a bloody war for independence. These were Europeans who had moved into America, a lot of them as subletted individuals. But because Britain had almost, obfuscated their progress, they decided to fight for independence. So independence is fought for a people who want to rule themselves.
All right, so the debate is still ongoing, and we're joined on the line now by Matilda Bumega, who's covering the debate for Joy News. Good evening to you, Matilda. Now, at this point, who would you say is winning the debate?
Oh, I would say that Professor Akosa is winning the debate. That is what I can see. Because looking at both sides, Professor Akosa was for the motion that
Yes, Matilda?
Hello, Izzy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So you were saying Professor Akosa is winning the debate and he is for the motion.
Exactly. Dr. Richard Amakoban was for the motion that Ghana's independence has lost its meaning. And for him, he started with the genesis of Nkrumah and his struggle for the country to gain independence. And his concerns had to do with the mindset of the Ghanaians. And he says education sector has become more or less like a chew and sword effect. People go into schools and then they come out at the end of the day and they are not contributing anything positive into the country. And we cited some examples at the very beginning during Nkrumah's struggle for the country's independence, where he said that so many people around Nkrumah who could have pushed him forward for the country to have been in its proper position today were the same people who turned against him and then eliminated him at the very end of the day. But when you come to Professor Badu Akosa, he said, who is maintained that Ghana's independence has not lost its meaning. He believes that the independence prepared the country for accelerated progress, but individualism and selfishness is what became the order of the day until today. That is what has made the country into this current state. But they both believe that in spite of the several challenges that the country has facing today, with the health sector, the education sector, the transport sector, the country still has many opportunities to turn things around, especially the Ghanaians who go out there to vote. It's the leadership, the crop of leaders that will bring into power. They are the people who can turn the fortunes around. So when Ghanaians go to polls, they should be mindful of whoever that they come on board. But one interesting thing that Dr. Amakoban also raised was that, you see, the issue has become more centered with government leading development in the country. He believes that if the private sector is pushed more, because when government is in business, it becomes scandalous and a whole lot of corruption happens. But the government should be able to give the private sector more opportunities for them to even put the investment into the country. But looking at the way of things from Nkrumah's time till today, the government has no business doing business. That is what he was leading with. But at the end of the day, Dr. Mwakoba lost the debate to Professor Abedu Acosta, who believes that Ghana's independence has not lost its meaning to this extent, that there are other means that Ghanaians can change the fortunes around, especially when it comes to elections. That is when they can decide, and they should stop voting because of their cronies and all that. Ghanaians should look out for the people who can really change the fortunes of the country around. So these two speakers at the end of the day believe that a lot has to do with the mindset of Ghanaians. Ghanaians need to wake up and know that no, it is not about parties, but it is about the crop of leaders that we put in power to fix the country's problems. And if we fix the right leaders, at the end of the day, Ghanaians will begin to enjoy the benefits of being an independent state.
All right. Thank you very much. That was Matilda Wamega joining us from the second Joy FM debate at the Kofi Annan ICT Center. In other news, Member of Parliament for Mencia South, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, has accused the Ministry of Transport of overstating the cost of the rehabilitation of the Kumasi airport. According to the MP, the $29 million quoted is too excessive.
The MP's accusation followed the Transport Minister's response to an urgent question he filed requesting for the breakdown of the total cost of the project. The minister, Jafar Tivo, however, only gave a partial breakdown when she appeared before the House.
The rehabilitation of existing airfield pavement works is $23,829,271.48 million US. Consultancy services for construction supervision of rehabilitation of existing airfield pavement works is $409,829.42 thousand US. Provision of aeronautical ground lighting systems at the airport, $4,659,547.79. 4. Consultancy services for the provision of aeronautical ground lighting at the airport, $194,449.21. Total $29,093,097.90.
She said asphaltic overlay, 70 millimeters. She said aprons. She said drainage. She has mentioned 6 items. And all I'm saying is that it should give you the cost that added up to the 23 million, because that's what she said.
This response, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh said, was unsatisfactory and promised to probe further.
The cost for that rehabilitation, for us who pass through the Kumasi airport regularly, is mind-boggling. I don't know where those estimates came from. To asphalt a 1.9 kilometer airport runway at an astronomical figure of $23 million, I can't believe. It's unbelievable. It's obscene. If it was your money, would you have spent that amount on that road, on that runway? I said, let's do a cost comparison. It will be the most expensive runway in the world. It's a road that can be audited, and I would enjoin, and I'll implore on the Transport Committee of this Parliament to go and do a better investigation and find out.
The minister, meanwhile, has been asked by the Speaker to make the breakdown available to the House by close of Thursday.
Up next, we bring you business news. Right, it's now time for business, and Abigail Adoma-Koentry is here with all the facts and figures and numbers and digits and burgundy.
You're still talking about burgundy, really?
You seem to love that color.
Oh, you love that color.
No, you love that color.
Let me do my business. Now, the Finance Ministry is insisting that it has no plans to lay off public sector workers under the IMF program. The denial follows recent remarks by a former Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, that government is planning to retrench public sector workers in 2017 under the fund program. But speaking to Joy Business, Deputy Minister Tuforsen says Dr. Bawumia should not confuse public sector reforms with layoffs. Kesalato Forsen also adds that Dr. Bamia's comments, which the ministry describes as false and reckless, has caused some uneasiness within the financial markets.
In fact, we talked about public sector reform, and does not mean retrenchment.
What would happen with that reform that you're taking?
You always do reforms as long as public sector is concerned. You have to look at the productivity analysis, whether you are getting value for money, or it will not result in government of Ghana retrenching staff. Somebody who has risen to become a deputy governor of this country, the financial market very much respects your opinion. So whatever comes out of your mouth should be based on fact, should be very much guided. For you to go out to say that Africa Development Bank have indeed blacklisted Ghana or sanctioned Ghana, I think is very unfortunate, because it's not based on facts, it's based on hearsay. You know what this has done to Ghana? We are going to the bond market. We have a 5-year that we are hoping it will be very successful. He's ended up sending fear and panic to the investing community. I think he should come and apologize, because the signal that he sent out there is not good at all. He sent very wrong signal.
Well, government is set to meet the central bank, the finance ministry and other stakeholders in May to deliberate on how to drive down high interest rates crippling local businesses. Trade Minister Kospio Gabra at the 2015 Ghana International Business Network told Joy Business the move follows concerns raised by various local industries for a 1 billion cedi stimulus package to cushion them against the high cost of doing business in Ghana.
The 2015 edition of the Ghana International Business Network is to enhance strategic business alliance between domestic and foreign investors, as well as entrepreneurship for sustainable economic development. According to the Ghana Statistical Service, entrepreneurship in Ghana reduces employment by 40% and adds over 50% to the nation's services sector. For businesses, the high cost of operating in the country owing to high interest rates remain a challenge. But Minister of Trade and Industry, Dr. Kospio Gabra, says government is working on bringing the rates down as part of efforts to boost entrepreneurship in the country.
There are many ways of supporting Ghanaian industry, and one of those ways, which I've also spoken about in the past, probably the most important way, beyond trying to get control over the power situation, is the cost of credit. Cost of credit, also known as interest rates. So we are hoping that within the next 45 days or so, we shall be organizing a forum here in Accra, where we shall bring a number of stakeholders together from the Central Bank, the Ministry of Finance, from academia, from think tanks, from industry, for us to reflect on what all of us should do collectively to, over a period of time, bring the cost of doing business down, especially the cost of credit.
Deputy Finance Minister Mona Korte also charged the youth to create business plans and get themselves financially literate in order to compete on the international market.
One of the important things is for our youth to study how to create business plans and how to keep to those business plans and how to do well in those plans for themselves and for their families. So the financial literacy is important, financial inclusion is important, and being able to do business profitably is also important within ethical boundaries.
Government is set to establish Ghana trade centers in some countries across the world to promote the patronage of local goods. Minister for Trade and Industry Kospio Gabra, in an interview with Joy Business, says the move is part of measures to enhance exports and also improve Ghana's trade and investment prospects on the international market.
The proposal the Ministry of Trade and Industry is making to the government of Ghana, which we expect to discuss in Cabinet in due course, but which has been in the pipeline for a number of years, so I will not take personal credit for it, where the ministry is suggesting that in order to enhance the exports of Ghanaian goods, so that is also an extension of our Made in Ghana program and upcoming policies, that we establish a number of Ghana centers, Ghana trade centers in a number of selected countries where foreign nationals of those countries, and in a few cases it may be a Ghanaian who has lived there for a long time but who has become very successful, but most likely there will be foreigners who are in their own countries and very successful businessmen or women who will agree on some terms and conditions to be discussed and negotiated to represent Ghana's trade and investment interest in those countries. And will have their own industries, in some cases their own street front shops or showrooms where Ghanaian products that are intended for exports. So if you can imagine a shop on the high street in New York City, or a high street in Paris, or in London, or in Tokyo, where made in Ghana products, and there are thousands of them, can be displayed by this company to interested buyers.
And that will be all for Business. Business News is brought to you by having black mosquito coil and perfume spray.
You know, I couldn't help but notice the earpiece drop out of your ear when you were anchoring in the middle of it. I'm sure it may have startled you, but you kept your cool.
Well, yeah, I mean...
okay, but I think you were telling me you think it's too big for your ear.
But it is. Did you see?
So you want a small one?
Yes, a smaller earpiece. Note. No, real.
Business News was brought.
Well, football is top of agenda in sports tonight, and head coach of Great Olympics, Yao Champong, has challenged the Ghana FA boss to rethink resisting a quota for players who ply their trade in the Ghana Premier League and the national team. FA boss Kwesi Nyantakyi on Wednesday argued that the selection of players into the Black Stars could only be on merit, and insisted competition for places in the national team between local and foreign players will remain. But Yao Champong disagrees and is calling on the FA to show more commitment.
Most of the tournament we play, you see that some players, they just go there, they don't do anything. So I believe if that will be the case, we can give that slot to the local players so that it will motivate them. Because if we take about 18 players or 20 players and maybe only 16 or 12 players only participate in the tournament, the rest, they are just there and I don't know what they are doing. So if that will be the case, I believe that chance or that spot can be given to the local players so that the local players will also have the idea that if they can perform good in our league, they will also have opportunity to be in the national team.
Let's do some more. Stay with the Ghana Premier League, and former Kumasi Asante Kotoko defender Rahima Yu says the Ghanaian sporting public should embrace their stars when they make a return to play in the local league like they transfers elsewhere. In recent times, there has been a steady influx of players, including the likes of Richard Kingston and Godwin Atram, signing up for Accra Great Olympics. For Junior Ayew, the opportunity to play is the biggest motivation rather than the monetary inducements, as speculated by the fans.
One thing I notice in Ghana is, we don't respect our own assets. That's one thing that I've noticed.
So you think that there's a decline in how you are valued at your club?
Well, yes, because if your national star, one of your national stars comes back from Europe and joins your club, he deserves a lot of respect. And most of the guys.
What kind of respect are you talking about? Playing time?
In terms of everything. But if he's not performing, the coach have every right to put him out. Put playing time out.
You think that you are in the best of your form at this time?
Yeah, I was playing. Even when I was going to Kotoko, some thought I wouldn't be able to play, but I proved them wrong. So if you look at the league right now, where is Ghana football going to? You should always ask yourself that question. But when I know a lot of good players who are sitting at home.
You're not happy with what you see in the local league?
Yeah, because most of the players are home. They don't want to play because of some of the kind of treatment they have. In their various clubs. You go to the GFA, you see a lot of people writing for protein as a protest. So it's some kind of way. You see very good players, David Ofair. They are all at home because they don't want to play.
All right, that's it for sports. I just wanted to find out, how big is your earpiece?
I think I have small ears as well.
You have a small earpiece?
Even smaller than,
a small earpiece?
Bigger than what I have in my ear. So give me a smaller one.
I'm getting confused. How big is your earpiece?
Small.
Small. That's it. Celebrated playwright Tankle White is back with a new Rowan production play titled The Smartest Man Alive. It's an exploration of love and politics. It tells the story of Moses, who has the perfect spin on every story. Maran Turo of our entertainment desk has more.
I am sacrificing the program for a relationship. That is how much this relationship means to me. And I hope it means the same to you too.
Oh, of course. I mean, you mean the world to me.
Moses is a smart guy who is always on top of issues. And this makes him a great asset to his party. He is usually called upon to represent his party on radio to debate other parties. One day, a story comes out that seeks to tarnish the image of the party chairman, and as usual, Moses is called upon to do his magic and make rubbish of that claim. But just as he's about to go into high gear, he meets a very peculiar man who warns him that he will behave like the very last animal he ate anytime he tells a lie.
Look, I don't tell lies, okay? I'm smart, that's all. And I make being smart an art. I will outsmart my opponent.
This week has been a cataclysmic upheaval of galactic proportions for the People's Party. Paramount is the party chairman's scandal. Look, a female damsel has come out to claim that she has been roasting the broomstick of the chairman of the ruling party and even has a child by him. You know the expression, right? Roasting the broomstick?
No, I don't.
You don't know hiding the bishop, churning butter, rocking boots? Oh, okay. You learn these things when you go to Oxford University. Yeah.
Let us make our politics about morality. And I am glad for us to make this elections about morality. So tell me, Kuku, what would your presidential candidate have to say about the many women who could come forward and say that he made them pregnant and got them to abort the children?
Was it tread cautiously? Which woman? Which woman?
I'm glad you asked. I have some names here. Wait.
Now, I thought I heard one of the characters bleat like a goat somewhere in there. That's it for the bulletin. Before we go, a quick run through our top stories. Electricity and water tariffs are to go up marginally, effective April 1 under the automatic tariff adjustment formula. The Ghana Statistical Service has admitted an error in a 2009 GDP growth figure highlighted by MPP running mate Dr. Mamadou Bawumia. The Member of Parliament for Menchia South has questioned the $29 million cost of rehabilitation of the Kumasi airport and is demanding a breakdown of the contract sum. The Greater Accra NPP chairman has justified the decision to allow only indigents to contest parliamentary primaries in coastal constituencies in the Greater Accra region. And government has announced a settlement with service providers in the health sector over the National Health Insurance Authority's indebtedness.
This is Joy News Prime.